As a lifelong diehard Cowboy fan, my question is just how stupid, how dumb, how naive, how gullible does Jerry Jones think I am and every other Cowboy fan is? Now Jerry Jones is saying that he gives Mike McCarthy a high grade for this year? Are you kidding me? A high grade? Do you remember what happened in 6 straight home games? Jerry, do you remember? 6 of the all-time worst embarrassments, humiliations in the history of pro football happened to my Dallas Cowboys at home. In 6 straight home games, we got outscored 235 to 101. Think about that, 235 to 101. I'm going to round up the average score. It's actually 39 to 17. Let's just call it an even 40 to 17 was the average score of what we lost 6 straight home games with Mike freaking McCarthy as our CEO, head coach, motivator. Mike McCarthy? It's happening right before your very eyes. Jerry Jones is trying to convince the world why he should bring Mike McCarthy back again after he should have fired him after that disaster of a debacle of a nightmare at home last year in the playoff game when we were 7-point favorites and we were down 27-0 before halftime. Obviously, Jerry loves him some Mike Mack. Call him Mike McJones. He's like a new son to Jerry. Yeah, he's a good guy. He's a great hang. He likes to drink his beer and eat his nachos, Jerry. And you love him like a son because you like to see him every Friday and talk a little ball. He's simple enough that he doesn't talk down to you. He talks your language, Jerry. You can understand what old Mike's talking about. He tells you stories about coaching old Joe Montana and San Francisco, and Aaron Rodgers won that Super Bowl. It was only like 15 years ago. A galaxy far, far away, Jerry, but he did win a Super Bowl thanks to Aaron bleeping Rodgers and thanks to Greg Jennings. I'll give you this. Mike McCarthy's he's a very good offensive coordinator. I give you that. He is a pitiful, pathetic head coach. Worst motivator in the history of motivation. A bump on a sideline log. The boob, Mike McCarthy, and you want him to come back. You're trying to sell what he's done for you lately. When you think you just blotted out all our memories like you hit us with what was that gun called? A neuralizer and Men in Black. You shot us all right in the temple, Jerry. That's what you think you did. And we forgot about what happened in those 6 straight home games. Because you and your media department called in favors. And you got Troy Aikman to go on national TV on ESPN/ABC and talk about what a great coach Mike McCarthy is. And then I had to hear Tom Brady talking on Fox about what a great coach Mike McCarthy is. And then Greg Olsen. I love Greg Olsen. He might be the best out there right now. I'm a big fan of Troy, though. But Greg Olsen talking about last week what a great head coach Mike McCarthy is. And I had to stomach Dak talking about, got to run it back with Mike Mack next year. And then Micah, you even drank the Kool-Aid, got to run it back with Mike McCarthy next year. Tyler Smith just this last week, got to run it back with Mike McCarthy. And I'm out of my freaking mind. I'm offended. I'm sick at my stomach that you would think I could be that stupid and that gullible. What happened, Jerry? Did you get Trump to pardon those first 6 games? Is that what happened? You got a Trump pardon so we can just forgive and forget all those 6 games. Now I'm going to start back at the Green Bay game. It was 27-0 before halftime. Dak heated up in the fourth quarter and brought it all the way back to 48-32. Remember the home opener this year, Jerry? Do you remember? Because I do. I might be the only one out there in Cowboy Nation who remembers. The home opener against what turned into the sorry New Orleans Saints. They're 5-9 now. It was 35-16 at halftime. At halftime, we lost 44-19. What? To the Saints? Then here came Baltimore. It was 21-6 at halftime. It was 28-6 after 3 quarters. And then here came Detroit. I wish I could forget. It was 27-6 at halftime. We lost 47-9. These are home games. Every game is a home game. Here came Philadelphia. And because there was no more Dak, God bless him in his rehab, Cooper Rush actually kept us together for a half against Philadelphia. It was only 14-6, and he threw that touchdown pass. Should have been caught by CD, but you didn't close the curtains. It's getting later in the fall. The sun's pouring in. CD lost the ball in the sunlight in his home stadium. And then we lost the second half 20-0, and we lost the game 34-6 to Philadelphia. And then Cooper Rush kept us together for a half against Houston. It was only 17-10 at halftime. And then we fell all apart in the second half, and we lost 17-0 on the way to losing 34-10. And you're also saying you give Mike Zimmer a high grade for this year for coaching the defense? I know you keep talking about injuries. Jerry, you know and I know, you've been doing this a long time. Everybody has injuries. My God, Detroit has injuries. San Francisco, they have injuries. Buffalo has had injuries all year long, and look at them now. So with Dak Prescott as our starting quarterback for 4 straight games, if I include the Green Bay game, we lost the first halves of those games with Dak at quarterback, 110-35. That was the cum score of those 4 first halves that Dak played in 4 straight home games, counting Green Bay. We lost 110-35. That's the halftime score. My God, Jerry, I have to listen to you. You've called in your favors with all these national commentators. I don't know if you promised them interviews. You'll get a sit down with Jerry or sit down with Dak or Micah or somebody, and they're all raving about Mike McCarthy, your son, because you want to bring him back next year, and you think that you fooled the public, the gullible cowboy public. You're P.T. Barnum, a sucker born every minute. I know he didn't say that, but he gets attributed for that. And now you think that we're buying back into a high grade for Mike McCarthy because you went to Washington and you stole a game with the wackiest finish of the year. A Washington who, especially in the second half, in the fourth quarter, just went up and down the field on Mike Zimmer's defense. And you won that game because they lost it, because their kicker kicked them right in the you-know-whats, right in the privates. And then you come back and you finally win a home game because you're playing a team that was now 2-12. The Giants, you can argue they're the worst team. For their sake, I hope they get Shador. I'd like to see him in the Big Apple. But, okay, so you barely beat the Giants 27-20. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe you'll get on this improbable late season roll. Here comes Cincinnati. They're all of 4-8, Jerry. And you have them, and then you don't have them. And you know and I know what happened and how you lost that game. And I don't want to start because that was the most painful night of this year's Cowboy watching life. And then you go to Carolina and you play your game of the year. They're 3-10, Jerry. And I know they played 4 straight games. They look like they found themselves. Bryce Young found himself. I give you, it was an impressive win, but they are still 3-10. And I thought you were going to make a run at 10-7 late in the year, but I can't forget what happened in 6 straight home games that you're letting Mike McCarthy off the hook for. Troy, you're letting Mike McCarthy off the hook. Tom Brady, you're letting him off the hook. Greg Olsen, Dak, Micah, Tyler Smith, you're letting him off the hook. I just gave you, I detailed 6 straight home games. It was the 6th worst 6-game streak, funk, collapse in NFL history. I'm not exaggerating. Tell me I'm wrong about this. Go back, try to find some team that had 6 straight worse home games, 6 straight first half home games than we have suffered with Mike McCarthy this year and going back to the playoff game last year as our head coach. I've looked at the 1960 expansion Cowboys. They were much more competitive at home than we were in that 6-game stretch. I've looked at the 1989, the first year of Jerry Jimmy Cowboys. That was like an expansion team after the Herschel Walker trade. We were more competitive than this at home in those 6 straight games. I've looked at the 1976 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 0-14 under John McKay. A lot of people think worst team in the history of the NFL. They were more competitive at home than we were in these 6 straight games. And Mike McCarthy's coming back as our head coach. It is incomprehensible. It is unconscionable. It is gobsmacking, blindsiding, impossibly wrong. Jerry, you're going to bring him back because they've had a few injuries? Yeah, Zimmer's defense started to play a little better here of late, but seriously, look at the first halves. Mike Zimmer participated. He was the defensive coordinator as we fell behind 35-16 to New Orleans by halftime, 21-6 to Baltimore, 27-6 to Detroit, and then second half collapses against Philadelphia. These all at home. 20-0 second half. Houston 17-0 second half. Mike Zimmer presided over. Mike McCarthy presided over. I just don't get it. Mike McCarthy is now 0-2 at home in the playoffs. And we were a 3-point favorite over San Francisco and lost badly. Even though we had a little late run in that game, it was over fast. And then we were a 7-point favorite last year over Green Bay, and it's 27-0 before I can even catch my breath. Mike McCarthy is 1-3 in the postseason. And we're going to bring him back? He's not a head coach. He has one long ago far away Super Bowl thanks to Aaron Rodgers. That's it, Jerry. You got to wake up. Or somebody's got to wake you up. I'm humiliated. I'm devastated. I'm at wit's end. Mike McCarthy gets a high grade? You must be high, Jerry.